You will own nothing and be happy. This is a phrase that summarized Danish politician Ida Auken's paper on the idea that everything in the future will be shared and we won't have a single thing in our name. Now, at this point, I'm sure that all of you have already heard about Ubisoft's subscription service exec, Philip Tremblay, and how he stated that the future of gaming is going to more likely go into the direction of like traditional cable, in the sense that you're not actually going to own any of the media. And the whole premise of his statement may have been getting a little bit misconstrued here and there. What he was actually doing was pretty much explaining the idea of it and how it's probably going to happen for most companies. The whole premise of his statement was basically saying that we need to prepare for it to happen, not that it's actually going to happen. But honestly, I'm pretty certain that it's going to happen, and this was their way of pretty much testing the waters to see how we would react. And spoiler alert, everybody's pissed. First off, what I want to say here is that I think that what Tremblay was getting at is definitely true to a certain extent. Obviously, it would make them more money to do a program in this way because their games are mid. They're losing money because they can't make good games anymore. What these companies are lacking in understanding is that we don't care about yearly releases, okay? Most of us don't care about live service updates, at least when we're talking about single player games. We aren't so anxious to get the next game release that we're all, woo, skip the whole development process, throw that thing out there right now. No, we care about good games. That's all we care about, good games. The majority of the time that I really enjoy a game, I actually buy it twice. Sometimes I even buy it 3 times. It just depends how much I love it and what consoles I'm willing to play it on. It's literally just a content issue. Make better games and you'll make more money. You know who isn't worried about converting to a monthly subscription service? FromSoft, because they make great fucking games. Same with Larian Studios, same with Capcom, same with Nintendo, same with CD Projekt Red. They all make great games and they're not bringing up the problem of ridding physical media. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having their own games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games as gamers grow more comfortable in that aspect. And you know what I think Ubisoft needs? I think Ubisoft needs to get used to us pirating their games, or nobody buying their games in the first place. And aside from this, those versions of media are still purchasable physically. I still have DVDs and Blu-rays in the other room from my collection. Do I buy both? Yes, I collect physical and digital media in that aspect, but only when I want to. When you're stripping that from me, I'm not going to want to buy it at all. Now, this was a topic not too long ago. If you guys remember, Christopher Nolan was urging people to purchase Oppenheimer in a physical form because of the way that streaming services compress content. Now, how do you think that's going to translate to our games? For instance, saves. Where are those going to go? Are they just going to go to a cloud? What happens if my data gets corrupted? Are you going to have enough space to pull one of my autosaves in case I fuck up or if I have a power outage or something? You don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. It's not been deleted. You don't lose what you built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. And who's going to make sure of this, Philip? Because I know damn well that the ideas that you're throwing around out there, EA already has their eyes on the prize. There'll be like a progress restore package or something that you have to pick up from the shop because your card declined last month and you couldn't foot the bill. How much is that going to be? An extra $40? There's just so much wrong with not having physical media. What about people who don't have internet connection? How are they going to be able to play? Now, I don't have a problem with streaming games. If you want to stream games, go stream games. What I have a problem with is these companies taking that physical property from us and not allowing us to play offline and such. A great example would be like Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies, I believe was the first one that converted to a multiplayer only standpoint. And I don't know about you guys, but there have been multiple times where I lagged out of a single player zombies map. Now just imagine we translate that to something like Dark Souls, okay? And let's just say, for instance, you don't have the best internet connection in the house. Now imagine you're fighting Ornstein and Smo in Dark Souls, but you're streaming the game because you can't own it anymore. Now what if grandma wants to use the microwave in the kitchen and that's between your room and the router? For most people, that's going to create a connectivity issue. And then boom, you're respawning at the bonfire. There's honestly almost endless reasons why this is not going to be a good thing. First off, this is going to suck for people who collect physical media, such as steelbooks, collector statues, hell, even just the game in general. I know some people who like to collect the games because they want to go back and play them for nostalgia's sake. That's just not going to be an option anymore. I know that for them, at least, if that became the norm, they would just not buy into it either. And I would honestly hope that you guys don't either. And I could drone on and on, but there's only a couple more points that I want to hit with this. One of those being an exclusivity paywall, which we're already starting to see in consoles. Now imagine if it was that way with every single game that you owned. There is no way you're going to pay for 2, 3, 4 monthly subscriptions just so that you can play the games that you want to play. And that's exactly what happened to cable. And that's why cable's not a thing anymore. But guess what? We're making a whole big loop around back to right where we were in the first place. Look at all the streaming services now. They're already starting to pretty much experience that same thing. I know a lot of people who canceled Netflix subscriptions because of what they pulled with the account sharing situation. And I don't blame them. I think some of the most important changes that we would see that would really affect us as gamers would be that the companies getting their money on a monthly basis, they don't have to care about the content that they put into the games anymore. They don't have to care about the updates. They don't have to care about how hollow the world feels, because at the end of the day, they already made their paycheck. It's only going to get more hollow. They're going to care about you less. Why is this a good idea? I genuinely can't think of one good reason to come out of this. Now, I still do believe that companies like Larian and FromSoft would definitely stand above all else in the end. And honestly, we're just going to have to see what happens, even if Ubisoft does go with this. Maybe this will be kind of a wake-up call for them and they won't go as hardcore on this that they're kind of seeming like they're going to go. In a way, I almost feel like something like this has to happen just to set the example for the rest of these companies. But at the end of the day, sadly, I just don't even think that that would be enough anyway. The last thing that I have on my list today would be the idea of supporting games that you don't want to support. If I'm paying for a monthly bundle for X game and I don't want Y or Z or A, B, C, or D because they did this, I'm trying to think of a good example. Think about Spider-Man 2 and how they literally created all new pronouns in Spanish so that they could make people feel more comfortable. And think about all the people that pissed off. Now, say for instance, I'm pissed off by that and Insomniac has a monthly bundle, but it includes that game. Now I'm supporting that and I have no say in the matter. None of my opinions on that game or the motives and concepts that they push are going to be affected by anybody, because that monthly subscription is going to continue to be funded. So yeah, in the end, I think we would be losing our opinions as well. These companies would learn absolutely nothing, and I think that it would be a shame to see it go that way. And honestly, like I said, maybe it does need to happen so that we can A, weed out the companies that we shouldn't be supporting anyway, and B, make an example of these people so that we can be better. And I honestly kind of hope that it happens to Ubisoft at this point, because I already don't like them. I had an experience with them where I purchased a month of Just Dance Plus so that I could play it with a friend. And I didn't receive the contents that I paid for, so I contacted the support, and they basically told me to get fucked. And guess what? After that, I haven't given them another dime. Not a single one. And they don't deserve my money because of that. Streaming is also a thing that works really well with subscriptions, so you'll pay for it as you need it, as opposed to paying for it all the time. Some people get like a sense of FOMO because of this. If you think about Netflix, they're shuffling out their content all the time. And in a way that can make some people feel obligated to watch all of this content and participate as much as possible so that they can justify their monthly payment that they spent. And that's understandable. But for how that would translate to gaming is an entirely different subject. I don't have all day to play a video game anymore. I got bills to pay. Like, to a certain extent, it's true. Like I said before, from a business standpoint, it sounds great on paper. But at the end of the day, who are you aiming this at? All I hear when he says this shit is that they don't care about us or what we want as gamers. The last thing that I'm gonna say is that we shouldn't get used to not owning any content or anything. I think we should get used to normalizing the term dystopian future. And if you don't know what that means, I'll give you the definition right now. Of relating to or being an imagined world or society in which people lead dehumanized, fearful lives. And almost every day now, I feel like some corporate schmuck is trying to take more from us. Am I even gonna have my own underwear next year? Like, seriously, fuck out of here.